What if you didn't have to stay the person you are today? What if you could completely rebuild yourself, not by escaping your past, but by turning it into the raw material for a new life? That's exactly what Friedrich Nietzsche challenges us to do, not with soft advice, not with trendy self-help hacks, but through radical transformation, deep, demanding, and profoundly personal. This video is about self-creation, Nietzsche style. It's not easy. It takes courage, clarity, and an unshakable will to become who you truly are. You don't need to have read his books. What matters is that you're ready to think deeply, feel honestly, and face yourself fully. We'll talk about conditioning, the will to power, the role of suffering, and how to break free from borrowed values. But more importantly, we'll explore how you can begin to recreate yourself step by step and become the author of your own life. This video, if it speaks to you, I'll point you at the end toward another one, Nietzsche on finding meaning in life. Or you can find the link in the description. It goes even deeper. If content like this helps you think differently and see your life more clearly, subscribe and hit the bell. On this channel, we don't skim ideas. We go deep, we grow, we elevate. Ready to recreate yourself? Let's begin. Part 1. Why recreate yourself? Become who you are. A short sentence, but behind it, Nietzsche hides an inner revolution. Because, let's be honest, most people never become who they are. They become who they were told to be, what their parents expected, what society rewarded. They follow the script. They fit the mold. You didn't choose your starting point. You didn't choose your name, your nationality, your religion, your culture, or the time you were born into. From day one, the world hands you an identity, a set of values, and a story about who you're supposed to be before you even learn how to think for yourself. And Nietzsche makes a bold claim. Modern man doesn't live, he obeys. He follows rules he never chose, moral codes passed down without question. He becomes what others expect, a good student, a good worker, a good person. But deep down, he's a stranger to himself. Slave morality, the invisible cage. Nietzsche calls this mindset slave morality, a way of thinking built on fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of real freedom. It's a morality that glorifies obedience, guilt, modesty, and passivity, as if being small and invisible were somehow noble. But the truth is, it kills your potential. Nietzsche isn't telling you to be selfish or cruel. He's telling you to stop borrowing your values, to think for yourself, to act from your own power, not from fear or guilt, to forge your own path instead of walking one that was drawn for you. A question worth asking. Ask yourself, what am I doing today just because someone told me it was the right thing? Your job? Your lifestyle? The way you present yourself? Now dig deeper. Does this come from me or from the fear of disappointing others? That kind of awareness, it's uncomfortable, even painful. But Nietzsche would say, that's where your freedom begins. Because as long as you're wearing the costume you were handed, you can't truly recreate yourself. You can adjust, you can improve. But transformation, that requires a break. And that break begins the moment you say, I'll decide who I want to become, even if it's hard, even if it upsets people. So, why recreate yourself? Because staying inside the mold may feel safe, but it's suffocating. Because you only get one life, and living someone else's version of it is a betrayal of who you could be. Because deep down, you feel it, a calling towards something bigger, truer, more alive. And Nietzsche, he gives you permission to say no to what was imposed. He tells you, you have the right to become who you are. Not who they expect, not who you've done so far, but who you could become if you finally gave yourself permission to start over. Part 2. The will to power, fuel for self-creation. What human beings seek isn't peace, it's intensity. Nietzsche. There's a raw force inside every human being, often ignored, often buried. Nietzsche called it the will to power. But let's be clear, it's not about control over others. It's not domination, ego, or external conquest. It's something far more powerful, an inner drive, a creative force, a deep instinct to grow beyond your current self. It's not about power over others, it's about power over your limits. The will to power is that voice inside you that whispers, you could be more. You don't have to stay where you are. It's the fire that pushes you to break out of inherited patterns, to shed false identities, to stretch yourself even if it hurts. Nietzsche wrote, "Man is a rope stretched between the animal and the Ubermensch." That tension, that inner pull, it's the engine of transformation. It doesn't want comfort, it craves growth, freedom, and self-overcoming. What it looks like in your life? Saying no to a promotion that doesn't align with who you are. Walking away from a toxic relationship, even if it feels familiar. Choosing a path that speaks to your soul, even if it's full of risk. Questioning yourself deeply and regularly without ever extinguishing your inner fire. That's what the will to power looks like. Not aggression, but alignment with your deepest potential. Nietzsche rejected excuses like, "That's just how I am." To him, we are not fixed. We are becoming, always. And as long as you're breathing, you still have the power to recreate yourself. A famous quote, misunderstood. "What doesn't kill me makes me stronger." You've heard it 1,000 times, but it's not about simply surviving hard things. Nietzsche was talking about transformation through adversity, turning pain into power, turning setbacks into fuel. Not you have to suffer, but since life brings suffering anyway, don't waste it. Turn it into something. Use it as raw material. Let it shape you into something more real, more grounded, more alive. What you can do right now. Today, take 5 minutes just for you. Write this sentence. Here's the power inside me that I haven't fully expressed yet. Be raw, be honest, no filters. Then ask yourself, what's one thing I could do today to honor that power? Even if it's small, a single action, a tiny rebellion. You don't need a perfect plan, you need a moment of self-affirmation. If this message speaks to something inside you, if you feel that tension between the life you're living and the person you know you could become, like this video, it helps the message reach those who need it. And in the comments, write, "Here's what I refuse to accept as normal in my life anymore." Declare it, own it, speak it into the world. Because that's the moment where real change begins. And if you're serious about recreating yourself, not just in theory, but in action, subscribe. This is just the beginning. There's a deeper, freer version of you waiting on the other side. Part 3. Turning suffering into self-creation. Suffering isn't the problem. The real problem is doing nothing with it. Friedrich Nietzsche didn't live a soft, easy life. He suffered from chronic pain, mental breakdowns, deep loneliness. And yet, out of that intense suffering, he forged one of the most powerful philosophies of the modern world. Nietzsche didn't escape his pain. He didn't romanticize it. He transformed it. He turned it into a work of art. He lived what he taught. One must still have chaos within oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Chaos isn't your enemy, it's your raw material. When Nietzsche speaks of chaos, he's not talking about external mess. He's talking about that deep inner storm, that feeling when you don't recognize who you are anymore. You feel broken, disappointed, betrayed. You start questioning everything. That inner chaos is not the end. It's the beginning of something new, a signal that you're ready to evolve, not go back to who you were, but become someone truer, more whole, more awake. Light enters through the cracks. Stars are born out of darkness. Pain is not the enemy, it's the fuel. Nietzsche never said suffering is good. He said you get to choose what to do with it. You can suppress it, and it eats away at you. Run from it, but it always returns. Let it define you and become a victim. Or you can face it, feel it fully, and use it as existential fuel to grow, to create, to rebuild. The inner alchemy. Picture yourself as a blacksmith. Your pain is the raw metal, rough, heavy, imperfect. But with fire, your will, with hammer strikes, your actions, and with time, your patience, you can shape it into something solid, personal, and real. That's the essence of self-creation, not in spite of pain, but through it. Real-life example, Frida Kahlo, the iconic Mexican painter. At 18, she was crushed in a brutal bus accident. She lived in constant physical pain, faced repeated surgeries, heartbreak, and emotional upheaval. But instead of letting it destroy her, she poured it into her art, into color, rawness, and truth. Her paintings became a scream, a reclamation, an act of radical self-expression. You don't have to paint. Maybe your art is how you love now, how you show up, how you think, how you live. Pain doesn't have to end you. It can remake you. Key quote: "One must still have chaos within oneself to give birth to a dancing star." Ask yourself this: what if your inner chaos isn't your downfall, but your turning point? What if the goal isn't just to feel better, but to go deeper, to reintegrate your pain as part of your humanity, part of your power? Practical reflection. Mini exercise. Open a notebook or notes app. Write this at the top. What pain or challenge have I lived through that I could transform into strength? Let it flow. No need for poetry, just truth. Then add this line underneath. Here's what I will create from that pain. It could be a new mindset, a commitment, a message, a quiet but powerful shift in your life. Create, even if it's small. If you're ready to turn your pain into power, if you refuse to be defined by what you've been through, subscribe to the channel, because here we don't just survive life, we learn to be reborn again and again. Part 4. Breaking free from imposed values to live by your own code. You can't recreate yourself without breaking old idols. Nietzsche doesn't sugarcoat it. To truly recreate yourself, you must be willing to let go of inherited values that no longer serve you. Values you may have absorbed since childhood, from family, school, culture, religion, but that now limit you more than they liberate you. It's not about rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's about honest liberation from beliefs you never truly chose. The revaluation of values. Nietzsche called this process the revaluation of values. What does it mean? It means refusing to play by rules you didn't write. It means questioning the shoulds, the dogmas, the ready-made definitions of good and bad, and instead creating your own framework for meaning, ethics, and direction. This isn't external revolution, it's internal sovereignty. You stop letting society be your compass and start becoming your own source of truth. Dead values. Nietzsche warns us of what he calls dead values. What are those? You should do this because it's what's expected. Don't stand out. Be realistic. Keep your head down. Follow the rules. That's the safe path. These are hand-me-down beliefs, ideas we often accept without questioning. But deep down, they can suffocate your authenticity. They shrink your potential. They keep you small, obedient, and disconnected from your deeper self. Choosing your own values. To recreate yourself, you must choose values that come from the core of who you are, not from fear or conditioning. That might be courage, to stand alone when necessary; truth, to face yourself honestly; freedom, to live beyond approval; creativity, to make something of your existence; power, not over others, but of yourself. These aren't commandments, they're choices, values you feel in your bones. When you choose your own values, you stop living as a copy and start becoming a creation. Many exercise. Pick your guiding values. Pause for a moment. Imagine your life 5 years from now, fully aligned with who you really are. Now, ask yourself, what are 3 values that you want to guide everything you do, think, and build? Write them down. Feel them. Speak them out loud if you need to. This is not just an exercise. It's a declaration. I will no longer live according to values that are not mine. Saying no is an act of creation. Choosing yourself will often mean saying no. No to the roles your family wants you to play. No to the fear of disappointing others. No to chasing approval or safety at the expense of your soul. Saying no can feel uncomfortable, but every no to what's false is a yes to what's true. That's the path of becoming. That's self-creation. The death of old gods. Nietzsche once wrote, "The greatest recent event, God is dead, is already casting its shadow across Europe." This isn't just about religion. It's about the collapse of absolute frameworks, the loss of ready-made meaning. The world no longer hands you a script, and that's terrifying. But it's also the beginning of freedom. There are no gods to follow, no map to trace. You must become the author of your own meaning and live by it. This journey isn't about becoming what others expect. It's about becoming who you were meant to be, before the world told you who you should be. Part 5, the Ubermensch, a direction, not a destination. The Ubermensch isn't someone above others. He's someone who rises above himself. When people hear Ubermensch, they often picture a superhuman figure, invincible, flawless, almost godlike. But Nietzsche's idea is far more personal, far more powerful. The Ubermensch isn't a superhero. He's not someone you worship. He's a vision, a call to become something greater than what you are now. So, who is the Ubermensch? He's the one who faces life as it is, with its joy, pain, failures, doubts. Doesn't run from suffering, but uses it as fuel for growth. Refuses to inherit a morality he didn't choose. Lives authentically, without bending for approval or applause. Keeps evolving, not to dominate others, but to overcome his own limitations. It's not about being better than others, it's about becoming better than your past self again and again. A vision of who you could become. Ask yourself honestly, if you didn't have to impress anyone, what life would you build? What would your days look like if you weren't trapped by the need to conform? What dreams would you pursue if you weren't trying to be liked or to play it safe? This is the energy of the Ubermensch, a life not inherited but created. He doesn't wait for permission, he doesn't ask for the world's validation, he creates meaning and lives by it. The courage to imagine something radically different. This isn't easy. It's not comfortable. It's a kind of existential bravery to look at your life honestly and say, this isn't the final version of me. I'm still in the making. That's what Nietzsche meant when he wrote, "Man is something to be overcome." He wasn't saying you're not enough. He was saying you're not done. You're not a finished product. Every time you push beyond a fear, let go of an old belief, or rise from a setback, you're moving closer to your version of the Ubermensch. It's not a title. It's a process, a continuous self-transcendence, a commitment to becoming who you were meant to be, not who you were told to be. You weren't born to repeat. You were born to become. Conclusion: ready to reinvent yourself here and now? You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You can start becoming someone new, right here, right now. Not by copying someone else's life, but by shaping your own, authentically, intentionally, step by step. Nietzsche doesn't give you answers, he gives you provocations, shocks to the system, not to destroy you, but to wake you up. The real question is, are you ready to become who you truly are? What's the first thing you're ready to change in your life starting today? Drop it in the comments. Let's share. Let's support each other. Want to dive deeper into Nietzsche's vision? Watch this video, Nietzsche on Finding Meaning in Life. It explores another side of his philosophy that can push your thinking even further. If this video sparked something in you, if it made you think differently, like, share, and subscribe. It helps the message grow, and it shows you're part of this deeper journey. And of course, turn on the bell so you never miss the next masterclass, because this isn't just content, it's a call to transformation. You're not here to stay the same, you're here to become. See you soon, right here on Deep Life Lessons.